morning. Club Dub Podcast. The NFL season is about to get underway. Erik, Dhruv, and Kevin a few minutes late. Apologize for that. Chicago traffic really sucks today. I don't know what everybody's driving for. Maybe everybody's going to Arlington Heights for that Bears meeting that they're having right now. But what's up, guys? Happy inaugural NFL day. Let's get this shit going.
I'm so happy. Oh, my God. I'm so happy. I can't even sit still. Like, it's just finally.
I'm
pumped, man. The wait's over. We're going to see some live action against two pretty good teams tonight. And, hopefully it'll be a great game and we can look forward to Sunday after that.
Yeah, it's going to be a crummy Sunday from what I'm seeing on the forecast. We'll get into that. We'll talk a little Bears after we talk. First and foremost, though, I want to talk about tonight's game, Bills and Rams. There's a lot of implications on this line. A lot of people calling it a Super Bowl preview. I think it's probably the AFC is absolutely loaded this year. Clearly stronger than the NFC. I don't know if the Bills are the best team in that race, but they're damn sure a top 3 team in that race. So who do you got tonight? And then we'll talk a little bit about Super Bowl predictions. But for tonight, I'm going with the Bills. I got the Bills over the Rams tonight.
I actually have the Rams myself, but this is my Super Bowl preview. I did my predictions earlier today. I released them for the entire season, for the NFL, for the Bears. And, yeah, this is my Super Bowl pick, Bills-Rams. And I have the Rams winning tonight. I have the Bills winning the Super Bowl.
Wow. All right.
Both teams are excellent. They're great on both sides of the ball. I think Buffalo, did some good jobs, with some minor tweaks to their defense this offseason. Even though it was really good last year, I felt it was missing some things, particularly in the pass rush. Adding Von Miller is going to really help them, I think. Tre'Davious White's going to be back, so that's going to really help them as well. I have them winning this game, actually. I think they're going to, pull, I don't know if you call it an upset, but I think they're going to, send a message that they're, committed to finishing what they started last year. The Rams are still going to be a great team. We all know that, and they're going to be in the mix, come playoff time. But, I think this is going to be a fun game, and it's probably not going to be as high scoring as a lot of people are hoping, because I think these two defenses are a lot better than people realize.
Oh, they're both loaded defenses. I mean, we've heard now a lot of guys come in and talk about the addition of Von Miller last year and how that was just not only for their locker room, a huge thing for the Rams, but he just helped things schematically just move along so fluidly because he's played in so many different systems. I think that for the Rams this year, a lot of it's going to have to do with, I think their receiving core is much better. I think people are sleeping on Allen Robinson, maybe not from the fantasy perspective. People think he's going to have a lot more success there than he did last year in Chicago for multiple reasons. One being he pretty much looked like he gave up last year over the coaches that gave up on him, whatever road you want to take. So I think offensively they're better, the Rams. They're going to have a healthy Cam Akers for the whole year. Fingers crossed he's on my fantasy team. I hope he's good. They got a great offensive line. But for me, the Bills are just top to bottom a lot like the Chargers. There's just no holes. There's no holes. I mean, they got a healthy quarterback. Josh Allen has no medical issues whatsoever, whereas Stafford's now dealing with some elbow thing per se that's not on the record, but there's been tons of reporting on it that he's got some baseball type elbow injury. So I think that's where it's going to draw the line. And, he's a little bit older. He's been throwing this ball. He's had mostly been uninjured. It's pretty much his whole career. So maybe this is the year that he bites that. I hope not for his sake, but that's the reason I would take the Bills tonight, just because I think that Allen is, after their playoff loss last year, he's fired up to go out, and that was one of the best football games we've ever seen. He's going to be fired up, and he's going to fire on all cylinders. So I'll go Bills tonight. I'm going to take Bills 31-24. Scores? Ooh. What do you guys think?
Dang.
I'm thinking 24-21 Bills. That's my score.
27-23 Rams.
All righty. I love that. Erik, Dhruv, I'm trying to find your article online to show people.
Yeah, I got. I posted it this morning. It went on Twitter at 11 Central. Scheduled a tweet just because I had to get up early and write it before the day started. So it should be there maybe a little bit earlier in the day.
Well, if you guys aren't tuning in, this is the Club Dub Podcast presented by SportsMockery.com. As you can see, the SportsMockery website listed right here for you. Tons of just Bear stuff on here. Erik was going crazy today with a bunch of stuff. We'll obviously talk about the George Kittle news and how he's likely probably not to play on Sunday. with an injury. And then we talked about Lori Lightfoot, that whole meeting that's going on now. So you can catch up on all things that you've missed throughout the week. There's been a nonstop flood supply of Bears news over the last couple of weeks here. Eric's been keeping up on all of it. So go ahead and give our website a shout if you're doing that and want to, get yourself up to date with Bears season predictions. So let's talk about that. Eric, Dhruv, let's start with you because you were talking about your article. You said 8-9 this year.
Yeah, I was. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, 8-9, but there's a couple games in there that you have the Bears winning and losing that are big surprises, and I want you to talk about those. You can list them because there's a few on there that I was like, well, okay.
Yeah. So when I was going through it this morning, I was expecting to be in that 6-win range, maybe 7 wins. And I was just looking through it, and I'm just seeing a lot of these matchups where the Bears just, again, this is based on preseason play. I think they've looked better than I expected them to this early. Obviously, the hits principle is one thing, and teams are going to start really trying here in the regular season. So you expect that effort and hustle gap to close a little bit, but they look just fundamentally sound and not beating themselves, which I think is really huge. And the team last year won 6 games against a much harder schedule. So I'm taking that into account and taking into account some of the games where the Bears, and this is me saying it, the Bears have a quarterback advantage in several games this season, which they didn't have last year. You take that into account, and then this depth of this team is a little bit better than I was, really anticipating. So I ended up with 8 wins. I did have some surprises in there. For example, I have the Bears losing to the Dolphins at home, even though I think Fields will have a better season than Tua. I don't believe in Tua at all. That roster that the Dolphins have is significantly more well-rounded, in my opinion. So I think the depth and the overall other playmakers of that team went out. I have them losing in Atlanta, which I know is probably the biggest shocker, mainly because
Mariota homer.
Yes, exactly. Marcus Mariota's runner-up for Comeback Player of the Year tour is this season. But I just think it can be a tough place to play. I think they have weapons that the Bears are probably going to struggle to contend with, Kyle Pitts being one of them. And I think Mariota is significantly better than people are giving them credit for. So I think that one could be a surprise loss. And then I have the Bears going on the road and winning in New England. I don't think the Patriots are going to be good at all this season. Their coaching staff has taken a hit. Mac Jones, I don't know. And just the constant issues with the roster decisions and stuff. So I'm kind of fading New England pretty hard. So I think the Bears can win that one. And then the last one in there that I had, which is probably surprising, is I have the Bears going into Arlington and beating the Cowboys.
Wow. I think that'd be awesome.
And I think the Cowboys, losing Tyron Smith is huge. Dak is fine. Like I've never thought of him as nothing as significantly above average. I think he's, in that average to better than a little bit more than better than average quarterback, steady, but not like extraordinary. So I think the Bears can go in there and surprise. So yeah, some surprises on that list for sure.
8-9. Eric, you also have 8-9.
I do. Yeah.
Let's hear about it.
I have them losing the first 2 games. I think they're probably their 2 toughest games of the year. You got, the NFC Championship participant 49ers, great defense, well-coached offense. I think they're going to probably fall on that one, although I think the game's going to be closer than it was last year. And then the Packers, it's in Green Bay, right? It's in Green Bay.
Green Bay, yeah.
And it's prime time. It's Aaron Rodgers.
As usual.
Yeah, as usual. So I expect them to lose the first 2 games, but I think they're going to start to right themselves. I think they'll beat Houston and they'll start to, build some momentum from there. And I think they're going to, sort of round off and get a few win streaks going in between some tough losses. And I do believe they can reach 8 wins given this schedule. I don't think it's as strong as a lot of people are realizing. The quarterback matchups don't intimidate me as much as they did last year. It's not a friggin' gauntlet of Hall of Famers that they're going to have to play like they did last year. So A lot of it's going to be dependent on health because the depth is fine of the roster, but if you start losing some key guys, I don't think they have enough there to overcome everything. So I really hope Justin stays healthy. I really hope their receivers stayed healthy because obviously the receiving core is not exactly, deep. The defense, I don't know if it's going to be as good as last year, but I still think it's going to be top 15 at least. I think they're good enough to be in that range. And if they are and the offense can make it to top 20, I don't think 8 wins is out of the question.
Oh, I'm totally with you there. I'm not going to say 8-9. I'm going to say 7-10. But I totally agree that this defense is going to be top 15. There's playmakers at all levels. We've talked about this consistently. I think a lot of it will depend on where they find themselves a few weeks in. If once injuries start to filtrate through the league, it happens every year. Unfortunately, it's just a rough game. That's what happens. We'll see what the Bears want to do with Robert Quinn. If there's a significant injury on a playoff level team, and Robert Quinn is healthy, which he was very healthy last year and he stays healthy, they're going to fetch probably a pick that they can get for him. But maybe not. Maybe not. Am I wrong?
I mean, keep in mind, the Titans just lost Harold Landry for the season, and Harold Landry is easily their best pass rusher. So if the Titans, I mean, they have a lot of question marks right now, so we don't know if they're going to be in contention. So, but if they are, they get to the midpoint of the season and they're 4-4, 5-3, something like that, and I could see the Bears deciding, what, let's go for it. They're going to pay a premium for him right now.
And on the flip side, you need to keep in mind that Quinn never requested a trade. It's not like he actually wants to leave. He said that he thinks this team is better than a lot of people are saying. He thinks they're not as, down on the rebuilding scale as normal teams would be. Excuse me. Sorry. But, he also said that he wants to stay. He's been moving from so many different places over the past few years of his career. St. Louis or Los Angeles, Los Angeles, Miami, Dallas, and then to Chicago. You get tired of moving your family after so many years. Yes, he'd like to win a ring like any guy normally would, but at the same time, you'd like to put down some roots and, be able to live somewhere while still having your career. So I totally respect that. And, he's still one of the best players on the Bears team. So if you can keep him and maybe, who knows, he might still have 2 or 3 good years left in him and you can sort of use him to help sort of springboard the defense forward. So it all comes down to what another team is willing to offer. If they're willing to go like what Von Miller fetched last year, we're talking 2nd and 3rd round picks. You got to listen if you're the Bears because you got 7 picks next year already. If the compensatory pick news is actually true, and then you can add 2 more, you've got 9, a bunch of them on the high end. You're looking pretty for, what could be a pretty good year for edge rushers from what I'm seeing in the 2023 draft. So it all comes down to what they get in terms of offers if they're willing to listen.
There was a tweet that I saw this week. I'm trying to find who sent it, but the reason I think the Bears defense is going to be the same, if not better than it was last year, is just from a health standpoint, a little bit younger. I think guys like Justin Jones are going to come in and make an impact right away. I think that, again, the playmakers on the back end are going to be great. Jaquan Brisker showed us no reason why. He was the best player on the field when he was playing in preseason, a couple of those stats. I know that, best player on the field in preseason, you can take that with a grain of salt. But he stood out and he flashed in every play. You could see that, you saw the flashes from Kyler Gordon making plays on defense. We already know that Jalen Johnson and Roquan are, great players. Roquan's all-pro. I think Jalen has a chance to be all-pro at some point in his career. So with the playmakers at all 3 levels, there's no reason why this defense can't keep them in games. It's just, can the offense supplement them enough to get to 8-9 wins? I don't think so. I think learning a new system and the lack of playmakers is going to come back to bite them. And the lack of depth in the wide receiver room at some point or another is going to come back to bite them. Let's take a look at the schedule here. I put this up earlier. I don't know why I put the 2021 schedule up here. I got to get rid of that. That was on here earlier. But 49ers, obviously, on Sunday at the Lakefront. It's going to be a rainy one. Likely no George Kittle. He didn't practice again today. He's got that injury. Green Bay week 2, Texas, Giants, Minnesota. See, you could easily start the season here 3-2. I think they lose. I think they'll lose to Green Bay and Minnesota, but I think they'll beat the 49ers week 1. I think that they're going to come out of the gate with a nice playbook. And like you said, Eberflus has had experience winning against 49ers. He knows this. He knows this team. He's played against them quite a bit. Green Bay, that's a loss. Chalk it up. Texans, Giants, I think you're way better than both of those teams. Minnesota is going to be, again, it's just it's funny to see them playing at Minnesota week 5 and not
not in
Nice
January to end the
There's
season.
a lot of winnable games on this first half of the schedule, though. I mean, a lot of these teams that younger quarterbacks or make the playoffs last year. So I think that what's that?
I was just going to say, I mean, you look at this schedule, I see, to be quite honest with you, I see maybe 3 for surefire losses. Surefire. The Bills, of course, the Eagles, just because of their roster depth. I think, even though we've talked about Jalen Hurts, but I think the Eagles have a superior roster, one of the best rosters in the NFL. And then Green Bay on Sunday Night Football, because that is like water is wet. The Bears lose at Lambeau in prime time. So those are the 3 surefire losses. Everything else is, you could make an argument for sure.
I think Bill Belichick's going to scheme pretty hard to make sure that his rookie quarterback beats Justin. But again, yeah, you're right. That's a long way off in the season. It's hard to make those predictions early on because injuries happen so quickly in this league. But you're right. There's so many winnable games in the schedule. The Lions, both those games are going to be winnable. I don't care what people are saying about, people have the Hard Knocks rose glasses.
The Hard Knocks, right? The bias, yeah, for sure.
Listen, the Lions are better than they were last year. They drafted very well, but their wide receiver 1 is starting the year on the injured list. Amon St. Brown will be their top wide receiver, but I think it'll be Jameson at some point, but he's not starting the year. Aiden Hutchinson has to prove himself, and they still don't have an answer at quarterback. So I don't want to hear anything about those games are winnable. The Falcons are going to be terrible. That's a winnable game. The Commanders, no answer at quarterback. Great defense, though. So I think that's a winnable football game. Cowboys is going to be tough. Bears have had luck against Cowboys, obviously, a couple of years ago with that win at Soldier Field. The Packers, I don't think they're beating them either one this year. But there's a chance they're in the conference that they want to be in. If you're thinking playoffs, and if you're a Bears fan out there saying this team is, this is the team that I'm feeling confident, it's a breath of fresh air with a new regime. If you're thinking playoffs, you're in the conference you want to be in, and you're in the division that you want to be in. So,
yeah,
if you're thinking that way, I'm not. But if you are, there's reason for optimism.
We look at. Go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
And a lot of this, we're looking at this through the glasses of last year, and that we're not going to get that good of quarterback play, but if Justin can take even a modest step forward and plays, like we keep saying, top 15 level football, if he can get somewhere near that zone, I think this team's going to be a lot better than people realize, because he's already a threat with his legs. That's pretty much a given. So if he can improve even modestly as a passer and be more efficient, I mean, we're talking a 90 to 95 passer rating, over the course of the year. That's a major improvement. And I think they can win a lot of football games with this roster if he does make that leap. So you always have to keep that in the back of your mind. We're still assessing this from Justin not being quite there as a quarterback. But if he takes a step forward, you can start to feel a lot more optimistic.
100%. And the scheme, I know, year one of the scheme, and we look at the Packers in 2019. Aaron Rodgers struggled, and they had a pretty rough offense, I would say. And generally, the learning curve for this offense is pretty significant. So the Bears obviously having an easier schedule that coincides with year one of this offense is a little unfortunate. If this was year 2, I think the Bears would be kind of a surefire bet to contend for the playoffs. But I mean, to Kevin's point, this conference is bad. It's just bad. You look at I don't think the division is in question. I think the Packers are winning it. But you look at who I don't have the Bears making the playoffs. I have from a wild card perspective, I have the Vikings, the 49ers, and the Panthers making it. But you look at, the Panthers, they may win 9-10 games. I love Baker. You guys know that. But at the end of the day, it's still his first time in the offense, and they have a good roster. But I don't believe in Matt Rule.
Nor should you.
Nor should you.
He might be the worst coach in the NFL.
He's brutal.
He's completely out of his depth. He should have stayed in college.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. So you have that kind of bringing them down. The Cardinals, I don't know what to make of the Cardinals, man. Jesus. The Saints, I like Jameis Winston, but it's not Sean Payton there anymore. They just traded Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So that defense just weakened a little bit. So you don't know what's going to happen there.
That's the thing I keep saying. People keep looking at the Saints as if they're going to be the same team without Sean Payton. I'm like, are you guys seeing the same thing I am? Because with all due respect to Dennis Allen, he's not Sean Payton. Sean Payton's like a top 5 coach in the NFL. Allen was never that the last time he was a head coach. So they might still be good, but I think they're going to take a bigger step back than people realize.
Exactly. And then the Bears shouldn't be scared of the Commanders or the Cowboys in the NFC East either. So really this team, and you look at, their hardest game of the season is an AFC game. Their other kind of iffy game that I have them losing at home, which is the Dolphins, is an AFC game. So you look at if they can win some of these NFC matchups against teams that they're going to be contending with, obviously their divisional games, the 49ers, who obviously come here in week 1, the Commanders, who they host on Thursday Night Football, who will probably be competing for that wild card spot. They can make their mark here. They're playing the teams that will likely be contending for those wild card spots, and if they can steal some of those, it's not out of the question.
No, that 100% stole pretty much every word out of my mouth. I would have said that, but you already said it. So
Sure.
No, that's right though. I truly believe that there's that, and this is the best part about the NFL season is so many things can change so quickly. It's a small sample size. It's not that many games. It starts tonight. It's why the NFL is king. We only get it a couple times a week, and there's not that many games, and it's a year-to-year league. Your team can be bad one year, great the next, and I truly think that Justin Fields is, if he, like you said, Eric, if he takes even a little bit of 1 or 2 steps forward, he wasn't all that bad last year. There was just a couple things that really pushed him to make people think that he was bad. The fumbling was a big issue.
I kept saying this. Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
I kept saying this. If you look at the first half of his season versus the second half, he made significant improvements from one to the other. It's unfortunate that he got hurt because he didn't get to show more of the progress he was making, and that's what really sucked about it. But if you look at the passer rating comparisons, I think he was in the low 60s through those first few 5 games, 5 starts, and then he improved to 84 passer rating over the next 5. That's significant improvement considering the offense he was playing in, considering the offensive line he had to stand behind. So when you see all that, you believe he's in a much better system now with much more of a better identity. He's got some decent pieces around him. I think he can take a significant step. I don't think he's going to light the world on fire. It's the first year of an offense. He's still learning how to play the position properly, but I think he's going to be much more efficient than he was last year. And even if it's just that, I think the Bears are going to be better offensively.
Yeah, this is the last time we're going to say it before the actual games start, but we've talked about it, right? I mean, this season's about seeing what you have at quarterback, setting up for 2023. If Fields is able to show that he is the guy, he's able to show, hey, my mechanics and my footwork don't break down under pressure anymore. I'm able to, like he did in the Browns game, he can reset and he can get his feet right and he can unload an accurate ball. If he's able to show that and diagnose things pre-snap, post-snap as safeties rotate in today's, Fangio style scheme in the NFL now, that is going to be enough evidence, assuming he does the other things right, holds onto the ball, protects himself, that the Ryan Poles really should go all in with him in 2023 and build around him, once and for all. If he doesn't show that, then obviously the Bears have decisions to make next year. But if he can show that, next offseason is going to be exhilarating for Bears fans because you're talking about this wide receiver, this maybe supplementary tight end, this running back, because David Montgomery's maybe a free agent. So it just so many things to dig through next year with so much cap space. It'll be exciting. So hopefully he's able to show that because I don't want to cover a lame duck quarterback, man. I'm so tired of that.
Amen to that.
Totally agree. Rainy Soldier Field expected Sunday. It's a noon kickoff at Soldier Field. It's about, I think, a 90% chance of rain right now. So likely to be a kind of a crummy forecast. You're heading to the field. I think this means a couple things, though, and this kind of goes in. I want to talk a little bit about scheme for this game. George Kittle, probably not going to play. He's got an injury. What was his injury? It was a shin?
Groin.
I mean, with a rainy field and the Soldier Field turf, you can forget about him.
He's not playing.
He's not going to play.
They can't be stupid enough to risk him, aggravating that in the first game of the year. Sit him a week and, bring him back next week.
And the same goes for the Bears' Velus Jones Jr. He's got a hamstring injury, lower body, hasn't practiced much this week, if at all. He's not going to play. usually the indication by Thursday, if it's a hamstring, unless it's a high leverage game, those guys not going to play. New grass at Soldier Field, I don't care. It's still a garbage field. You're not going to put guys out there to get hurt week one. So schematically, we already know that Kyle Shanahan's run formations are just so fun to watch. I mean, he just makes everybody work. Guys like Jeff Wilson, Elijah Mitchell coming off the bench last year, and now he's the starter, he's the lead back there. They seem to turn these guys into just superstar runners. So what are you expecting to see from Shanahan on Sunday? And is that going to torch the Bears defense, or are they going to be able to keep it in check, keep them under 100 yards on the ground?
The loss of George Kittle would normally be tough for the 49ers because he's a superstar player, obviously, but it's significant for this because Trey Lance is the starting quarterback now. And when you lose a piece like that for a young guy who's only started 2 games in his NFL career to this point, it's significant because it takes away one reliable option for him to lean on when he has to. So now you still got Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk is probably going to, be pretty good this year. But I think they're going to pound the rock with Mitchell because the Bears really struggled to stop him last year. He was the catalyst for, San Francisco having the good day offensively that they ended up having. So the Bears really need to focus on stopping the run because that's how they're going to be able to keep Trey Lance out of long yardage situations and having to chuck the rock against a pass rush should still be pretty decent with Robert Quinn leading the way. So the Bears' goal is obvious: stop the run, force Lance to throw. Obviously, it's the flip side for San Francisco. They want to run the ball. They want to take control of the game, control the clock, give play action, and I expect to see a lot of RPOs because of Lance's mobility and whatnot. And that's sort of going to be how it's approached, offensively for San Francisco.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to want to run the ball. Both teams believe in their running games and believe they get off the bus running. And so, you have a rainy Soldier Field kind of just lends itself to that kind of game. The loss of George Kittle is very significant because you look back at 49ers teams of years past, and Jimmy Garoppolo is not a good quarterback. But one thing he is very good at is being efficient, attacking the middle of the field. Kyle Shanahan is a master at scheming people open in the middle of the field, and Jimmy Garoppolo could hit those 10-yard hitches and outs and whatever else, like with the best of them, 10-yard digs, it's unstoppable. And now you have a quarterback that is not that efficient, who is boom or bust, who is high variance play, who can throw a deep ball with the best of them and can look like shit throwing the ball everywhere else. So it's significant in that sense because you take out a guy who's a safety blanket. Someone like George Kittle is a safety blanket for a quarterback that has more variance in performance, like Trey Lance. So that's you take out potentially that element out of that game plan. So now you're talking about maybe some stacked boxes. Now that does lend the Bears a little bit vulnerable potentially to a play action deep ball to Brandon Ayuk, which I would be frightened of if I'm the Bears on Sunday.
That's what I was going to say. Yep.
Yeah,
you don't see them. They're going to pick on the rookie secondary for sure.
Of course, as they should.
That's their goal, I think.
As it absolutely should. So I think the Bears would do well. I think Garoppolo was too efficient to just sit back and cover 2 the whole game and just kind of chill and let him pick apart the middle of the field. But I think with Lance, you can probably afford to take your chances there. So I think in some ways that the weather, the necessity of the scheme, the injury to Kittle, it kind of lends itself to a game plan that'll probably help the Bears a little bit. But of course, they got to execute because if they miss tackles, if they, if they slip, which is possible on this new sodded field and everything, it could be a long day. Because at the end of the day, the 49ers offensive line is nasty, physical. They will wear you down.
Well, what I heard too this week was one of the Bears' defensive, principles, part of the hits principle. They want 7 guys in on every tackle. 7 guys. It's not possible for every play, but that's their goal. They want 7 guys around the ball. If that's the case and they can live up to what they did in preseason, very little penalties, very just calm, cool, and collected defensively, they did a nice job. I thought on the run, blocking the run, I thought that there was only a couple drives that really wore them down. And again, we didn't even see some of these guys that the Bears have picked up off of, the wire. We haven't even seen them play yet. It was after cuts. So listen, I think that you're right. Stopping the run's going to be important, but I could totally see them picking on Bears secondary, trying to right off the bat. I think it'll be heavy pass early, and then it'll go run the ball once the field conditions continue to worsen. So I think Ayuk is a guy that you got to watch. Obviously, you got to watch Deebo Samuel. I mean, it's Kyle Shanahan, man. The guy that should have been the Bears coach a few years ago. He's a mastermind at almost everything he does offensively. He's really fun to watch. So we'll see where that leads the Bears. But so Dhruv, you have the Bears losing that one. You got a final score prediction?
I do. I picked that before kind of the whole news about Kittle being pretty doubtful for the game, but I don't know if it's going to change it for me per se. I'll just roll with my original prediction. I think it's going to be kind of low scoring. I'm thinking something around the lines of 20-17.
Eric?
I have the Niners winning by 3, 23-20. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. I think Fields will play well, but unfortunately, it's a really tough defense. It's hard to score on them. So, good drives are going to be few and far between. It's going to be one of those, hiccup type games where they're just going to struggle to sort of find their footing. But I think they'll play better as the game goes along, but not quite enough to, pull the win out.
I got the Bears 17-14. Taking the Bears.
Right.
I think it's
defensive slugfest. I love it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough game it's gonna be a tough one for both teams to score, especially if the weather's bad. And Lance, what we've heard out of camp, he's struggling a lot. It's the reason that the 49ers went out and gave Jimmy Garoppolo a 1-year deal to be a backup quarterback, because they don't believe that Lance is going to make it through the whole year. That's really what that means. He's there for insurance. And what if we did see I don't think we're seeing it week 1, but man, what if we saw week 2 or 3 that they go back to Jimmy? That would be nuts.
Oh, boy. Keep in mind, the 49ers are – I mean, keep in mind, the 49ers kind of lost their entire coaching staff, offensive coaching staff in the offseason when Mike McDaniel went over to Miami. And I think he took a lot of the assistants with him. So, Kyle Shanahan's had to kind of rebuild this, himself a little bit this offseason. And you juggle that with, quarterback's coach or offensive coordinator. I can't remember McDaniel's exact role. You take him away from the equation where Lance has been learning and puts a new voice there. It may cause some weird issues. So they may opt to later on go back to that steady veteran, even though I don't think Jimmy's that great. But they may feel that they don't have any choice, especially if, let's say, they lose at Soldier Field. I mean, this is supposed to be one of their quote unquote easy games. Mm-hmm. They play in a tough division. They have the Rams. They have the Cardinals who can play them tough at times. They have a second place schedule or first place schedule. Can't remember, but it's not necessarily an easy schedule by any means. So this is supposed to be one of their gimmies. And if they lose this, oof.
Yeah, I know. You guys still got me?
Yeah.
My internet was kind of being weird there. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it'll be one of those games where we'll see. We're gonna see a brand new offense. I think that's the most exciting part. We're gonna see an offense hopefully execute on third down a little bit more like they did in the preseason. They played pretty well there. But yeah, no, I'm taking the Bears. So we got 249. You guys taking the 49ers. I'm taking the Bears. I want to quickly update. I'm refreshing Twitter right now because I'm looking through a couple of our guys that are out covering the Bears who are doing Arlington Heights stuff right now. They're at John Hersey High School talking to the public about their potential move. And I'm seeing right now the McCaskies are there. Ted Phillips is there. They're all talking through it. And according to a tweet from my guy, Mark Carman, it looks like George McCaskey is super excited. He said the Bears have been searching for their home for 100 years, called Arlington Heights a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we saw those mock-ups that they had. 300 acres is a lot of land. They're going to make it look great. I mean, the finished product will be pretty incredible. There were expressions from people in Arlington Heights saying it's only going to benefit the Bears. It's not going to benefit the people of Arlington Heights. It's going to really crowd things up. Only going to help business owners. I just don't think that's true. I think that it's going to benefit everybody in that realm. So it looks like they're partnering with they have a bunch of stadium architects. Manica, CSL, Goldman Sachs will be a financial advisor. Kimberly Horn, DLA Piper, JLL, real estate advisor. So, I mean, they got a bunch of people on board that they're paying. The Bears are going to reimburse the city of Arlington Heights after they pay for all these companies to come in and give them financial reports, give them transportation reports. This was all a big part of the news week because Bears were, hiring outside consultants and things like that, and they're going to reimburse the village and taxpayers for that. So, pretty exciting stuff. Yeah, pretty exciting stuff. I'm eager to hear what else comes out of that meeting right now. But it is good to see too. The Bears organizationally have failed on a lot of fronts before. It's good to see the head parts of the organization all there talking about it. So I think that's very important. What do you guys think? Yeah, you excited about Arlington Heights? It's going to happen now. So.
I mean, Ted Phillips reiterated in that meeting that, they're not exploring any alternative sites, including refurbishing Soldier Field, which is as clear a message as you can possibly send, that they're really focused on making this happen. But they don't have a stadium design yet. They also said that it's very early in the process. They're not there yet, which I can completely understand because they don't actually technically own the property yet. Everybody thinks they're going to, but they're not there yet. Expectations are that'll happen a little later this year. So something to keep in mind. But it's clear that this is their vision and they're moving ahead with it, and it looks like they're going to be out of Soldier Field within the next half decade or maybe 6 to 8 years. We'll see.
Just make the roof retractable. That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It's just harder to, it's so much more expensive to make a retractable roof just than to have, one where you can climate control the whole place. I would like a retractable roof too. I think that'd be cool, but it's not my money. I'm not going to be heartbroken over it. I just want a stadium where we can have, a Super Bowl here, some Final Fours.
That's the goal.
I mean, it'll happen too, if they end up moving there. So I don't know. I'm super excited for the future of this franchise. It seems to be, everything. These last couple of weeks is just a preview of what we're getting, and I think it'll be exciting once we get that official stadium, or once we get that official bill where it's signed. Because again, the deal is not done yet for the Arlington Heights land. It's getting there. They keep talking about it getting done. Once we get that confirmation, we can rejoice a little bit. We'll have some fun. Clubbed Up Podcast present. What's that?
I was saying yes, sir.
What?
I was saying yes, sir.
Oh, I thought you were cutting me off. I was like, if you got something else to say, go for it. I was just gonna say. Okay. Clubbed Up Podcast presented by sportsmockery.com. We did a little bit of schedule predictions today. We talked a little bit about the Bears 49ers. Opening kickoff is moments away here. NFL is back. Bills, Rams. I got the Bills tonight. Go over your predictions one more time, guys. I got Bills. 31-24.
Got Rams.
Bills, Rams. All right. Josh Allen versus Matt Stafford. Could be a Super Bowl preview. Dhruv, you said that was your Super Bowl preview. So go back and you can read Dhruv's article online. I found it. It's about 5 pages or about 5 sections down on the Sports Mockery website. Go ahead and check that out. Go ahead and check out all of Erik's work. He's been hard at work doing all that today as well. Like I said, the Bears team has been like a fire hose. I mean, it's been constant with stuff today. So, and the last couple of weeks. Anything else we want to add before we get out of here, guys, and start watching some games?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Baker Mayfield, please kill Cleveland. Please.
You know Cleveland's winning that game, right?
I don't care. Just kill him. Kill him. Just kill him. Fuckers.
Yeah. We'll see. Dhruv, always true to his Baker guy. We'll see. We'll certainly see what happens. Guys, go enjoy the NFL, start of the NFL season. We will catch you guys hopefully Sunday after the Bears game. Till then, though, give us a follow on Twitter at clubbed_podcast and follow us as well. Individually, you can see all of our names tagged at the top of the page. Peace. We'll talk to you guys later.